For the initiating process, we got together and created a team charter. We all signed it. We had to research COVID restrictions and make sure that we could even make this event happen with everything changing and all the new policies always up in the air. That was a real worry for us. We created a SWOT analysis and a stakeholder register, and we also used Monday.com to create our project plan in the beginning and throughout the project. We had a lot to do when it came to planning. We had to seek and finalize our location, identify our resources, and plan exactly how many supplies we were requesting, and even come up with a deadline to when we could accept these donations. We had to make a logo to use on what we decided would be Facebook to seek donations and volunteers. We had to plan our schedule, develop our risk management plan, complete our RACI chart, stakeholder engagement plan, assumption log, and create and finalize our scope.
Our group's first step towards executing our project was to secure a location where we could carry out our soup feed. We reached out to New Beginnings Closet in Bremerton, and we were able to secure a date, time, and location for our event. The next item on our list was finding volunteers to help us serve the meals. Fortunately, we realized we had enough friends and family within our group to fill that role easily. After that, it was time to secure food donations. We used social media to create a Soup Sisters Facebook page. We then made and posted donation flyers to all the community pages in our area. On the day of the soup feed, we split up our duties of cooking and packaging the soup and cornbread. We then went to the location and prepped our site by setting up. After that, with the help of our volunteers, we were able to feed some hungry people. Our project resulted in happy people with warm, full bellies, and this was a proud moment for the Soup Sisters. The monitoring and controlling process helped keep our group organized and safe. Our team used donation track sheets to oversee food donation inventory. We were also trying to monitor our food donations to see if we would be able to give second servings to the community. Also, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, it was really important for us to take extra precautions for prevention of COVID-19. We wanted to make sure that the food was handled and stored safely and that we were always following up-to-date COVID regulations. We initiated our team's closing process by holding a closeout meeting. The first thing we did was have a conversation celebrating our team's success. We discussed how proud we were of our community project and how we found volunteering in our community very fulfilling. We then updated all final documents, reports, and original process assets. The last item of the meeting was to discuss and fill out our lessons learned report. We reflected on the things that could have gone better and what we could have done next time to improve the process. For example, we now realize that organization is crucial to project management, and done differently, we would have had just one person handling all of our group files. Also, we discussed how it was exciting that we ended up feeding a lot more people in our community than we had originally anticipated.
Our scope was developed by all the tools and resources learned in this class, including our work breakdown sheet, RACI chart, SWOT analysis, stakeholder engagement plan, and our own collaboration and personal motivations. Our scope did not change and was validated by exceeding our expectations on how many people we planned that we would be able to reach with our Soup Sisters soup feed. We were even able to provide seconds.
We first brainstormed and came up with everything we anticipated doing for the project, the who and what was involved in the project. Afterward, we developed our work breakdown structure, considering our deliverables for the project to be successful. We had to consider our project scope and the needs and knowledge of our stakeholders. We were not focused on the action during this process. How did it change? We later added our partners, New Beginnings and Barnett Street Pantry, who provided us with the location for the bean soup feeding and the homeless people in the community. We validate our WBS by our unique deliverables. Our cost was developed using the cost estimate and our time working on the project. Our soup sister bean soup feeding did not have an extra cost because our time and all goods and supplies were donated as we anticipated. Therefore, our cost is $0, and we tracked our labor during each step in the process. How did it change? In doing our project workup, we had a cost estimate to give us an idea of what it would cost out of pocket to do a paid volunteer bean soup feeding. We removed the cost for our final because the project was volunteer. The cost was validated by not having to pay any monies for the project ourselves. Our schedule was developed by being flexible and knowing that working on a group project can be time consuming. Therefore, we use our time on Zoom and texting to our advantage. When it was time to collect our donation, whoever in the group was available and closer to the pickup area, they were tasked with going to get the donation. How did it change? We did not encounter any changes to our schedule. We validate our schedule by having all the goods and supplies in hand before our soup feeding. And we was able to do our soup feeding on the expected date, which was November the 19th.
The Soup Sisters identified the risks in our project by doing a SWOT analysis. The first item of concern was, would we get enough donations to complete our project? Since we didn't have a budget to work with, we were relying solely on receiving donations, and there was no guarantee that we would get what was needed. We also identified other risks that may occur, such as COVID health risks, power outages, rain, faulty cookware, facility not ready for our arrival, and a lack of volunteers. Our team did think that the SWOT analysis validated all of our risk findings, but that some of the risks either changed or prevention tactics were implemented to change the outcome. Some of the risks that changed were that we did end up receiving an abundance of donations and our family did end up helping us volunteer. Our team also came up with prevention tactics that eliminated some of the risks by preparing for them ahead of time. Those prevention tactics included bringing a canopy for the rain, a propane stove so we weren't reliant on electricity, and supplies needed to keep everyone safe from COVID-19. We also decided to call the facility ahead of time to make sure that they were prepared for our arrival.
Next, I'm going to be discussing challenges, conflicts, and strategies that we had during our project. Our challenge was that we could have started our PowerPoint in a timely manner, which would have been a little bit sooner. Our only conflict was plastic bags versus tin foil, and I'll let you guess which one won. Our strategy was to work well as a team, and we did that well. We nailed it. The people who enjoyed our navy bean and ham soup were overjoyed and even more excited to get homemade cornbread with it. We chose this soup because it's filling, thick, and keeps you full. We tempt our soup to ensure proper serve safe handling. Next time we will advertise earlier for donations and volunteers. We managed to meet face to face without meeting in person during our meetings until the day that we actually served the soup. We now know how Zoom has a time limit. We served more than 3 times the amount of soup we expected to serve. That was due to a staffing shortage at the Salvation Army, which resulted in no dinner for anyone waiting. Last but not least, organization is very important. Definitely a lesson that was well learned.
say hello to one of our happy customers. Our original plan was to distribute 80 bowls of soup and 80 pieces of cornbread, and we were able to hand out 220 bowls of soup and 248 pieces of cornbread to homeless people in Bremerton, and we consider that a huge success.